the issue about Hillary is a good cop to Biden's bad cop, I think, is fairly bogus. The Vice President of the United States didn't ad-lib these very trenchant comments about Russia. The Russian president and the Russians themselves have been quite aggressive in the last few weeks, whether it's through driving missiles around the Ukraine or having Medvedev in Ossetia. There's been a lot of rumblings out of the Kremlin that the Americans probably wanted to see answered. I believe that Biden has burnished his foreign policy credentials by these really intelligent comments on the truth that we're afraid to speak. The fact is, Russia is regressing. Its institutions are sclerotic at best. Its ability to produce forward-thinking economic policy is deeply challenged, and it is essentially a petrostate that, to this point, is incapable of reform. Whether that will change, we can wait and see, but the odds certainly aren't great. So I think that Biden's comments, his cold blast of reality, should be welcomed by those of us who care about Russia's future. And it's a message to those in the Kremlin that the kind words of the president only go so far, and that Russia has to have a really serious consideration, not just in respect to foreign policy adventures, but in respect to righting its ship when it comes to its tremendous energy game and the fact that it's essentially turning itself into something of a one-trick pony, which is the energy card, which their bluster with Ukraine has really diminished. We've seen Russia take a few important hits recently in respect to Nabucco and in respect to some of the other issues in the near abroad. The review in Bulgaria of the recent contracts with the Russians is just one example. It's a time when all of the capital Russia felt it had made with the Georgian war, a lot of that has been dissipated. And in that particular community, the real beneficiary seems to have been this new emergent Iranian threat in the entire region.
The other big news of the day is the release of this individual. Can you tell us what you know about that?
Well, I know what everyone who reads our blog knows, which is that Mogilevich, who is an alleged very connected guy with huge ownership interests and involvement in some of the most sordid parts of Russian energy, has been amazingly, given the severity of the charges, he's been released at a time when others, such as Khodorkovsky, remain incarcerated after many years. It is another obscenity, an obscenity that is compounded by the ongoing murders of human rights heroes that we've seen in Chechnya and in Russia. And it leads you to wonder when we will stop looking for litmus tests as to where Medvedev is going. We keep striving for new examples of legal nihilism, and the release of Mogilevich represents just a crashing of any myth that Russia is making a turn when it comes to rule of law.
Mm-hmm. You said earlier that Kremlin policy is being almost completely ignored in places like the Caucasus, and that the stability and strength of the regime is somewhat of an illusion. Can you explain?
Well, friends of mine in Moscow are telling me that command and control, the basic functions of governance, have been lost in the Caucasus. And one does have to wonder that the handing over of Chechnya to Kadyrov in this blanket form, this centrifugal force of that example, has some real implications for the rest of the Caucasus. And the ongoing skirmishes, the murders that have been taking place, the lawlessness. Mr. Putin, who had stood for years on this platform of the power vertical and the iron fist, seems to be engaged in a losing battle with these centrifugal forces. And I think we all have to look at some of these developments with real concern. The recent murder in Chechnya underscores Kadyrov's absolute impunity. And I think that the issue is not so much how quickly Medvedev responded to another ridiculous, insane murder, but the fact that this continues to go on because he has handed over Chechnya to this crime family. As I said in another post, it would be as if the United States handed New York to the Gambinos. It's absolutely absurd.